for Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. My name is Deborah, and I'm coming to you from here on my family farm in the foothills of the Arkansas Ozarks, where I like to do all the crafts. I like to knit, I crochet, I sew, I quilt, I make baskets, I make jewelry. I'll do any craft once and twice if I like it. I am also a professor of physics and astronomy at a local university, where I teach classes to physics majors and to also general education classes in physical science to people. I especially like to talk about science literacy and how to be a public scholar. So I will share some fun science sprinkles with you, as my friend Jessica likes to call them. I also volunteer to do planetarium shows, and I volunteer for women in STEM events. And my area of expertise is nuclear astrophysics. And last but not least, I am a farmer. I am a third generation plus family farmer that I live here on 170 acres, which has been in my family for over a century. And I raise grass-fed beef cattle, I raise horses, I have heritage poultry, I have show quality rabbits, I have a retirement rescue herd of miniature donkeys, miniature horses, donkeys, and a miniature mule named Pumpkin who thinks she rules the roost. And now we've got Princess Penny the pig. I also am fur kid mom, as you can tell from my sweet co-host Willie here, to 14 dogs. 14 very sleepy dogs, because it's been raining here most of the day. 7 indoor cats and an undetermined number of outside barn cats. So if any or of all of that sounds interesting to you, I hope you'll come on along and join us here on episode, I don't have a clue what it is, 41, 2 of Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. Okay, if you're looking for us on social media, you can find our farm Facebook page, the same as our YouTube channel name. It is Buckthorn Farms. Also, you can find me on Ravelry and on Instagram as Doc Firewoman. There is a podcast group for the podcast Ravelry Group, where you can find out about giveaways and make-alongs and all of that fun stuff. Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. So please jump over there to join in on all the fun. And I am also on Twitter, but I will warn you, I'm a pretty socially liberal Democrat, so that's where I kind of vent my political points of view. Try to keep it at a minimum other places, but it don't always happen. Anyway, so Twitter is only for you if that does not make your blood pressure high. Anyway, I want to welcome all my returning viewers, and if you're a new viewer to this podcast, I hope you enjoy what you see. It's not for everybody, and it's not like a lot of the other podcasts, but hopefully you'll find something that you enjoy and will come back and join us again. Why is my phone ringing? I don't know why I bother checking my house phone. It is either a telemarketer or a political pollster. And the telemarketers I don't answer, and the political pollsters I do. They really wish they hadn't called here when they called me. But anyway, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about our make-alongs that we've got going on right now and giveaways today, and you probably won't see this in time to do anything about it, but today I am closing the giveaway thread on the Shave 'em to Save 'em program from the Livestock Conservancy. The Shave 'em to Save 'em program is a program that they started to help preserve heritage breeds of sheep. You have to purchase fleece or yarn from designated providers and get a sticker for your passport, but I'm giving those membership in that away. The deadline to enter is unfortunately tonight at midnight, but on June 1, I'll have another giveaway. I'm going to open a thread today. Maria from Ninja Chickens has a beautiful shawl called Fleece Flight, and ironically, or maybe not so much, maybe wonderful serendipitously, the proceeds from that pattern also benefit the Livestock Conservancy, and that shawl pattern was designed for these heritage rare breed sheep yarns. So you could get several yarns and use in that pattern, and she was kind enough to donate patterns to give away. So we're going to be giving away 2 patterns for the Fleece Flight Shawl by Maria from Ninja Chicken. So I will open a thread for that giveaway today, and we'll be giving that away on June 1st. So maybe the first of every month I'll have some kind of giveaway related to the Shave 'em to Save 'em program. We'll see. I thought that might be kind of fun because I am a big proponent of the Livestock Conservancy. So I'll be opening that up. My make-alongs, right now we actually have 6 going on. The first one is our informal Earth Along. You can see my little friend there that I'll show you in Finished Objects. We started that on Earth Day, and that will run until my birthday. You can make as many Earths as you want. We're using a free pattern, but if you wanted to make a different pattern, that would be fine too. But the little pattern that I'll show you in Finished Objects is a free pattern. It's a very quick make. Doesn't take any time at all. It's a great scrappy project, and there are some scrappy alongs I'm going to tell you about in some other groups that you could join. So I will be giving away a prize on my birthday, which is July 2nd, from the Earth Along category. Then my 5-year-long make-alongs are the Creature Feature, which I am co-hosting with Laura from the Crocheting Whovian podcast. Our first quarter was sea creatures. Now we've moved on to farm animals. You can make any amigurumi that you like, and it can be knitted, it can be crocheted, it can be loom knit, doesn't matter. But you can make any amigurumi that you like, but if you make the themed amigurumis, you get a double entry for the pattern prizes. Okay, I just drew the April prizes, and I've already contacted the winners and heard back from them. So, or no, that was a different make-along. Forget I just said that. Scratch that. Every quarter I'll draw for a pattern prize, and then at year end we'll be giving away a physical prize. Then next is the Farmer's Almanac make-along, which is the one I just drew prizes for the April edition, and contacted the pattern winners. I have put the May thread up. It was late, and I apologize for that. The month of April in academia is a little bit, well, shall we say, hectic, and so it took me a while to finally get around to writing that up. But I hope you find something that you find interesting in that inspiration post. That's based on the Farmer's Almanac as a start, and then I kind of add to it. And I'm pretty lenient about what I will take, you know, there. But again, I have opened the FO thread for that, so you can start building your FO post if you would like to do that. Next we have the I Like Big Shawls and I Cannot Lie, and I'm co-hosting that with Vanessa from A Historian Knits. That is for shawls that are knitted only shawls that are 1,200 plus yards as described in the pattern. So things like I'm making the Fading Point, for example, which I will show in Works in Progress, and that is a 2,000 yard shawl. It's fingering weight shawl, 5 skeins, so that's a lot of yarn. But it's things of that nature. There's a bundle there with both free and paid for patterns in it. Buddy, don't fall. Free and paid for patterns in it, so you can get some ideas of some things you might like to make. Then also we have the Kitter Getter Done for all those kits that you hoard away like a dragon sitting on gold. I might have got a couple more recently. Anyway, we're working through those kits, trying to get those done, and those can be any kind of kits: cross stitch, diamond painting, basketry, latch hook. I don't care if it came in a kit form, whether it's like a shawl kit where it's put together by someone else. It's not things that you put together to make something. I will accept it. So that's been a lot of fun to see the different things that people are making over there. And then, last but not least, one of the most active threads lately has been the Never Have I Ever thread, where we learn new techniques, we learn a new craft, we learn a new skill, we maybe knit our first sweater. You know, I haven't started yet, but I have good intentions. But you know, something where you're trying something new. You're breaking out of your shell a little bit. So those are the ones that I currently have going on. Ones that I am aware of from friends of mine. Vanessa from A Historian Knits has the Cowl, and it's crocheted or knitted cowls, and that ends at the end of May, I believe. So you need to get on that if you want to get involved. But cowls luckily don't take that much time, even for someone who's as slow as I am. Laura from A Crocheting Whovian has her whip it good, finish it cowl, basically. So any projects that were started before March 1st, but there is some leniency if you're participating in one of her other alongs. You need to go read her rules for that, but it's to get things finished. She is also co-hosting the Autism Awareness Cow Loud with the ladies from Hen Hook and Needles and Vanilla Sock Pig Stephanie. They are co-hosting the Autism Awareness one, so there's a triple dip option there if you are following those rules. And pretty soon she is going to start her Tortoise versus Hare competition. I believe that starts July 1, which seems like it was a long way off, but now it's the 1st of May. So it's not that long. Then let's see, Jessica from Two Sticks and String podcast is starting her Yoo-Hoo Big Stash Blowout, and that's some cultural reference that I don't get because I don't watch TV hardly ever. So she is starting her Big Stash Blowout today, and I think that runs through the end of the year. You'd have to go and look at her group for that. Pin Hook and Needles have the Tea and Tails make along going on where you have to tie it to either tea and or tails that you can look up, and they're fairly lenient. Like I put Hazel, my humpback quail, in there and made a reference to Moby Dick, so you know, try to tie it in that way. Also, they are again doing the Autism Awareness make along, and they're doing Sparkle Like the Star You Are, which is a sparkly yarn make along. So there's a lot of opportunity for crossover in these different alongs that way. Vanilla Sock Pig Stephanie has the multiple myeloma make along going on, where I believe it ends at the end of May, where it has to be something made with red, primarily red yarn, because that is the color of the awareness ribbon, is burgundy red for the Multiple Myeloma Association. Okay, then Nic Nac Knits has the Sock It To Me make along going on, where it's one sock counts as an entry, so a pair of socks would be 2 entries. She has her Scrappy along going on, where anything made with scraps, and that's a year-long thing. Also, she's doing a Lisa Much make along. I haven't looked at that one too carefully, but you'll have to go check that out. And then last but not least, I know that Yolanda from the Happy Knits podcast has the Don't Stall Your Shawl, or Don't Stall on Your Shawl make along, where you can finish shawls, and they can be crocheted or knitted items there as well. I believe that is everything. If I have forgotten somebody, oh no, Heidi from Undead Yarn has the Finish It or Frog It make along going on, so go over to her group and check that out. So there's quite a few different make alongs where you can double and triple and quadruple and sextuple and pentuple dip. I should have said pentuple first because that's 5 and not sextuple is 6, but whatever. On these make alongs, and enter and win some prizes. You know, these people make a joke, because Shirley, my friend Shirley, is the luckiest person about winning, but Shirley works it, man. She hustles, she enters, and she's on it. She is on that entering train. So you can't complain about people winning if they're doing a good job of entering their stuff. I am terrible about it, so I can't complain. But anyway, so go check that out in the different groups. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at on that. I wanted to wish everybody a happy Beltane. It is May 1st, or May Day, and it is the turning of the year towards summer. It is definitely greening up here. We have had some very stormy weather, but right now it is sun shining, and I wanted to read you a really neat piece that I thought was appropriate for Beltane, so please just indulge me a moment. This is by one of my favorites, Mary Oliver. It says, "Teach the children we don't matter so much, but the children do. Show them daisies and the pale Nepatica. Teach them the taste of sassafras and wintergreen. The lives of the blue sailors, mallow, sunburst, the moccasin flowers, and the frisky ones, inkberry and lamb's quarters, blueberries, and the aromatic ones, rosemary and oregano. Give them peppermint to put in their pockets as they go to school. Give them the fields and the woods and the possibility of a world salvaged from the lords of profit. Stand them in the stream, head them upstream, rejoice as they learn to love this green space they live in, its sticks and leaves, and then the silent, beautiful blossoms." So happy Beltane, everybody. Let's move on and talk about some finished objects. Okay, I have two. What are you doing, Willie? I have two finished objects to share with you this week. Like I said, it has been fairly hectic at work. I do have quite a few whips to show you, but I do have two finished objects. The first one is my little globy. This is my little pattern, my little globy that I made from the Earth Along in my Ravelry group, and try to not pay attention to me as I look it up really fast to see who did this pattern. I should know this. But this was a very quick little make. It's like a kawaii cuddler sort of pattern because he's worked flat. It was a very simple, quick thing to make up. It took me less than a day to make this. I worked a little bit on it one evening, and then the next evening I came in and finished it. So it does not take long at all to make this little guy. Let me see, where is he at? Wouldn't you know it if I was looking for it? If I wasn't looking for it, it would be right here. Here we go. It's the pattern is Planet Earth Cuddle Buddy, and it is by Sarah Zimmerman. So Planet Earth Cuddle Buddy, he's got his little heart there, and this is the pattern that is free that you can enter the Earth Along for. So this was just made out of some scrap worsted weight yarn that I had, and I thought he was super cute. So there he goes. And not geographically correct, but it'll do. So that is the little entry for the Earth Along. Okay, my other finished object is Wanda the Whale Shark. Yay! This is the Whale Shark amigurumi pattern by Pawpaw. She is from New Zealand, I believe, and has several different sea life patterns. She has a manta ray, and one of my students today told me that I should make a manta ray and call it Pancake. I don't know if that's a reference to a movie or not, but I thought that was cute, so I will probably make a manta ray. So here is my whale shark. I need to give it a bath because white yarn in this house does not do well. But anyway, I thought it was really beautifully done. It was an easy pattern to follow and a fairly quick make. I made it in less than 2 weeks, just working in the evenings here and there on it. So that is my whale shark amigurumi. I think number 32 maybe, I don't know, by Pawpaw. So yeah, it's a pay for pattern on Ravelry, but I just love whale sharks, and we're actually going to talk about them in the science section today. So those are my two finished objects for today. So now we're going to move on and talk about works in progress. Okay, so my first work in progress is my block that I'm working on for my Marine Life blanket. I kind of sat this down and haven't picked it back up, and I need to go ahead and finish it out. It is the lobster block. Okay, this is a free pattern by Two Hearts Crochet, and I am not quite halfway done on my lobster. So I need to go ahead and get this finished because this will be 14 out of 20 that I need to get made. And then I have to set them all together. And the fair is 4 months away, y'all. I got to get rocking and rolling. So anyway, so this is the lobster. I decided to make it blue because I like the idea of those blue lobsters that they found over in Maine. Okay, my next work in progress is, you know how sometimes you just think, I think I'll knit a donkey. Maybe you don't ever think that, but last night about 10 o'clock I decided I'm going to knit a donkey. Willie, what are you into? So, someone had gifted me this pattern. It is by Mama for Earth, and it is Rosa the Donkey. It is a knitted flat, and then you seam it. So, very sweet little donkey there. And I decided I would knit it out of some bulky weight yarn. I hope I have enough of this. I don't know if I'm going to or not. My donkey may be 2 different colors, but that's okay. This is just some sparkly, super bulky yarn that I had in my stash. The tag on it was long gone, so I don't know what it is. But I am about 15 rows in to the donkey. And I'm just knitting it on some straight needles because that's what you do in the middle of the night when you decide you're going to knit a donkey. You just grab whatever's handy. So, it's knitted flat. So I think these are probably the back legs because I just cast off there. So I think these are probably the back legs. It's knit and stockinette. So yeah, so fairly quick. It's like 50 rows on the body, and then you make his little ears. So I might have enough yarn. We'll see. It's going to be a challenge. But that's Rose of the Donkey by Mama for Earth. She's got a lot of cute little animal patterns there. And these would all be good for the creature feature this month. That's why I'm knitting a donkey, because it's farm animals. And I have got to represent for those donkeys out there, right? Okay. Next up is... No, Willie, honey, you can't get back up here right now. Mama's busy. Okay, the next thing is I am working on my entry in, this will be qualified for the multiple myeloma make-along as well as the autism awareness. This is in my By the Bay yarn co-bag that I got at East Texas Fiber Festival. And this is the Just Feel Better shawl by Kalisha Ryan from a Quirky Monday podcast. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. It's wadded up, but Just Feel Better. And then this is what it looks like. Y'all ignore my scratches over there. Okay. Now, what I realized today is I think I'm going to run out of yarn before I run out of shawl, because I'm a big girl and I like a big shawl. So I've decided to add a skein in to the ones I'm using. Currently, I am using these two skeins of sparkly yarn on the Twinkle Toes base from Coop Dyeworks. This is Fireworks. Okay, and you can kind of see the sparkle. And then this is Wonder Woman. Okay, and this is how much I have left of these. And you know crochet takes a lot. And right now, what I have done is this much. Okay, so the last time I showed this, it was down by my little progress keeper that my friend Nancy gave me from Charmed and Dangerous, the little moon. Okay, and this is how much I have done, and that's, you know, maybe can get about 30% more that size. That's just shawlette for me, or a bandana. So I've decided to add in a colorway that will complement both of these. I'm going to add in my West Wing Yard Club from Stress Knits 4 red lights, because there's a slight red and blue speckle in here. So I think those three will work well together. So I'm going to start striping that in now, so I can make this a little bit larger of a shawl than it will be if I just have the two skeins. And that may not be enough red then to put it in the multiple myeloma make-along, but that's okay. I wanted to make it anyway, so I'm not going to fret if it's not enough. It's a very simple, easy to memorize pattern repeat. Great for meeting knitting or before class knitting. I had my last final today, so there won't be much of that going on, but it's great for knitting, or excuse me, crocheting, where you don't really need to look at the pattern every row, or really ever again until you get to putting the border on. So that's the Just Feel Better shawl by Kalisha Ryan. Okay, the next thing that I will show is I picked back up my fading point. Okay, this is in a bag that I won from Yolanda from the Happy Knits podcast, which I love what that says. Strive for progress, not perfection. This is the famous fading point by Joji Locatelli. Okay. And I am making it in a set of yarn that I got from Leon Alexander Yarns at East Texas Fiber Festival last year. So it is going to be loud. And I'm happy about that. It's very loud, bright, beautiful colors. My mom loved bright, beautiful colors, and clearly I am her daughter because I do too. The first color, I'm still working on the first color. I split it into 2 equal size balls. So this is what I've got left in my first half, or my half of the ball. This is the other ball that I'll do the other side with. This is my first color, and then I'm fixing to start fading in this color. Okay. So this is called Salem, and then this color that I'm fixing to start fading in is called City of Lights. Yep, City of Lights. It's about Paris. So it's got more blue in it than black. So it does have a little bit of the black, so that'll get me my fade. So that'll be my second color, and I haven't even wound the third color yet. But the last time I showed this, I was here where I had just done a very little bit piece of the sheep, and now I'm down to here. I've gotten through the first lace section, and I'm working on the garter, first garter or second garter section. So slow but steady progress. Very easy knit, not hard at all. And then you have to knit one half, and then you go back and knit an identical piece, and then you put them together. So I was going to knit it in tandem, but I've decided, nah, I'll just knit all the way through on one side and then go back and do the other side. So, alright, so that's the Fading Point by Joji Locatelli. Then I picked back up my Gothic Angel shawl. This is in my Happy Halloween bag from Magpie Knits on Etsy. And this was the Halloween make-along last year for Boo Knits. Okay, so the Gothic Angel Mystery Knit-along. I am knitting this with Kim Marie Nic Nac's West Texas Sunset in her Trinity Lace Weight yarn. And then it also has some gold beads in it. And I have finished clue 1. And you may say, well, so what? That was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. Okay, so the last time I showed this, I was up to the little kitty cat, or no, it's a dog bone, a little dog bone. And so I put the last from there up on this shawl. So it's kind of hard to tell a whole lot about it, but it's a very lacy shawl. Okay, and there you go. You can kind of see with my shirt behind it there. It's going to be really pretty when it's done, but whoo-wee, yeah. So I'm going to start clue 2 eventually. I have to be in the right mood to work on this shawl because I have to focus, and I have to have a row marker where I block out all the other rows where I can't see any of them, so that I don't get confused. But clue 1 had the most rows, even though I know they're getting longer and longer. But clue 1 had there's 10 there, and 31 there, and 28 there. So you work through 3 charts in clue 1. Now on clue 2, we're working through, looks like one chart. 20 rows. I know that's deceptive because I know they're starting to get really long, and there's a lot more beading in this section. So, but anyway, so that is last year's Halloween Mystery Knit Along by Boo Knits. There's plenty of pictures of it out there. It's going to be really pretty and lacy and floofy when it's done, and it'll get done eventually, maybe by this Halloween. So that is the Gothic Angel Mystery Knit Along. Then the last whip that I'll show is one that I actually just started yesterday. And this is in my April 9 Designs cute little doggies bag here. This is one of Charlotte from April 9 Designs bags. And it is the wadded up. This is the Dissent Cowl by Carissa Browning. This was a gift from Miss Mary to me. And so this is the Dissent Cowl. It's a paid-for pattern, and it's modeled after Ruth Bader Ginsburg's Dissent collar. And I just started it last night. It is mosaic color work with the slip stitches. And I'm using 2 colorways from Nerd Girl Yarns. This one is Votes for Women in the suffragette colors, and then this one is I Don't Want to Be Fixed. And these are in their Eleanor DK base, which is 60% merino, 40% Romney, and I believe that's locally sourced Romney from Missouri. So it's Nerd Girl Yarns. Very cool feeling yarn. I like it a lot. It's got a nice hand to it, as I would say in sewing. So I'm just started on this last night, so I'm about 3 repeats in to this. It's going to go this way, but you've got this mosaic pattern here of the polka dots. There's 10 rows of those polka dots, and then you switch to the larger jewel looking patterns. So I just started this last night kind of on a whim also. You know, but anyway, so I'm excited to get this done and put it in the cowl for Vanessa. So that is the Dissent Cowl by Carissa Browning. She's the one who did the Wonder Woman shawl. Okay, so yeah, so that are all my current active whips, and so now we're going to move on and talk a little bit about some future crafting. Okay, so in future crafting, I'll just show you a few things that I want to start working on. The first one is, I've already got it ready to go for the day the make-along starts. This is in my Utterly Adorable Knits bag, which is my Moon Phases one. And this is the Life Changes shawl by Laura Consart from the A Crocheting Whovian podcast. She is starting in along for that. I believe May the 5th. And I am going to be making that. I've changed my mind. I think I showed it last time, but I've changed my mind on what I'm going to make it out of. I'm still going to use the black Malabrigo sock, but I'm going to pair that with the Honeybee Knits Tits Out Collective yarn from last summer. I had used this in something and I ended up frogging it, so that's why my ball looks kind of messy. But yeah, so that's what I'm going to make the Life Changes shawl in. I'm anxious to get started on that. I think that black will look really cool, but that's going to be something you got to work on where there's some good light. Luckily, I got a present. I got an light from someone as a sweet gift, so now I got good light to work with. The next thing I'm going to make is, like I said, I fell for a blueprint coupon, and I got this little kit. The dinosaur backpack. I'm probably going to keep it and wear it around on campus because, hey, if I can walk around with a 4-foot humpback whale one day, why not wear a dinosaur backpack? So this was a kit from Craftsy, our blueprint, and you got everything you needed to make the little dinosaur in there. So there he is. All right, there's all the stuff. So, going to get that knocked out. They even sent you the stuffing. So, and I like these patterns. They're printed on really nice paper, and they're in these nice envelopes. So, yeah. So, that is another thing that I want to start on sooner rather than later. I also have had this pattern forever. It's Prince the Peacock. And I've always wanted to have peacocks on my farm, so I guess if I make one, I'll have one, technically, won't I? So I've already pulled together some scrappy yarn for this. Probably gonna, because I don't have enough going, I'll probably start on him tonight just for funsies. Yeah, so there's Prince the Peacock. And this, I believe, was a free pattern. I forget the website. Letsgetcrafting.com. Letsgetcrafting.com. Is the website. I believe at one point they sold a yarn kit for Prince the Peacock, but I'm just using some scrap acrylic yarn. Then I was looking for some other farm animal patterns, and I ran across this one. And I've got to make this one because it's Penny the Pig. Now, my Penny doesn't look anything like this. She's got black spots, but I thought that was super cute. So anyway, so there's Penny the Pig. And then also on the Caron page, there's a really cute little sheep pattern that was also free. So I pulled down some free patterns that I thought I might try to play around with because I like free stuff. Anyway, so that's my future crafting. So now we're going to move on and talk about acquisitions. If you're just here for the craftiness, or if you want to go on to the science, I'll try to put some timestamps in the description so that you can skip around if you don't want to see the acquisitions. But if you want to see the acquisitions, we'll move on now and talk about those. Okay, the first thing I want to talk about is I purchased my first yarn that was eligible for the Shave 'em to Save 'em passport. And when you purchase a yarn, you get one of these stickers. So I purchased Lincoln yarn. Country origin is England, and then the micron count there is 33.5 to 45. And its conservation status is threatened, which is its first one down from critical endangered. So, I got on their Ravelry group and I found the list of yarn providers, and I was able to purchase from Crosswinds Farm. Crosswinds Farm, and they, I believe, are in Michigan. And yes, Michigan. And they raise Lincoln sheep. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about Lincoln sheep. Well, I can talk about them now, I guess. I don't have to talk about them in Farm Life, right? Lincoln sheep are originally from England. They're sometimes also called Lincoln long wool, and they are the largest British sheep. They are the largest one, and they have the longest, most lustrous fibers. They are, rams are between 250 and 350 pounds, so that's pretty good size, and ewes range between 200 and 250. So, I ordered just the natural yarn, and they send you a couple of things. First of all, they sent you this nice informational card here, and it says Lincoln wool is strong, long, and lustrous. It isn't bouncy or soft. Its hard-wearing properties make it well-suited for fabric that needs to stand up to wear, such as rugs, bags, pillows, blankets, and outerwear. It is also an excellent choice for artwork. Lincoln is exceptional for strong warp yarns for weaving, and its felts, although not as quickly as finer wool. In knitted and crocheted lace and other patterns, Lincoln yarn tends to straighten out instead of settling into soft stitches. The right gauge will give you amazing results with any method that you want to use. Lincoln is the largest British sheep, developed specifically to produce the heaviest, longest, and most lustrous fleece of any breed in the world. And they put a little picture of some of their sheep there. Okay, so what I thought was really cool is not only did they send me my yarn, they sent me, this was one of the locks that it was spun out of. And then they sent me some examples of other locks and how they would take the dye. So that one's a really pretty kind of a sunsetty fade looking yarn there, or lock. And then there's some with reddish amber dyes. And then here's some more natural. Look how long that is. That's really long. Okay, so they were kind enough to send that. So I think that's great that they put that educational information in there, because that's part of the point of the Shave 'em to Save 'em program, is to learn about the sheep breeds too. So I'm all about learning some stuff. So these are the skeins that I got. This is worsted weight. It's 105 yards in 5.25 ounces. You have to do 4 ounces minimum. But I have found a fisherman's outer, like, gator cowl type thing that I'm going to make out of this. I'm not bothered by rusticy feeling wools around my face so much. So I think that this will be, I mean, this is definitely not super soft like merino, but it doesn't bother me. Of course, I'm the person that can go pull up poison ivy with my bare hands, and it doesn't make me break out. So I am going to make this into a beautiful fisherman's rib cowl. So, yeah. So that's my first, the Shave 'em to Save 'em yarn. And luckily, I have some more on the way. I have ordered black Welsh Mountain yarn, which is on the way. And then this weekend at Maryland Sheep and Wool, several people that I know will be there, and Laura and Shirley are kind enough to offer to look for me some yarn for the passport program there. There's going to be several vendors there that have it, so I'm anxious to see what they find. I got my next installment in the Celtic Year Club. It just came today. This is going to be a stole. Actually, I think they sent enough to make like a long cowl, or you could order more and do a stole. This colorway is called Bonfire because it's one of the this Beltane is one of the fire festivals. So you run cattle and things through the bonfire in order to ensure fertility for the next year. And if you want to read more about that, I wrote a piece about that on my Farmer's Almanac. So this is for this month's pattern. And then our little extra was this cute little bag to put it in. So that is my Celtic Year Club shawl. Still haven't made one, but I will. I've got one started. That counts, right? And then last but not least, well, it's not last but not least. I've got a couple of things in here. I got my next installment of the Stress Knits West Wing Yarn Club. This one is called Sudden Arboreal Stop. And if you've watched the show, you know what that means. That's a reference from the very first episode about the president riding his bicycle into a tree. And Leo said he came to a sudden arboreal stop. What do you want from me? Okay, so this is on her favorite base, which is 80/20 Superwash Merino, 400 yards. So it's got some pretty greens in it and some browns and gold speckles. So it's a pretty springy color. Then my friend Carrie Lee is a leather worker, but when her multiple sclerosis flares up, she has a hard time working leather, so she started dyeing yarn. And some of the colorways she's coming up with are fantastically beautiful. Her yarn company is called Long Night Moon, and she's out of New Jersey. And this colorway is one of her DK yarns, and this colorway is called Sun Showers. And that is a beautiful, springy set of colors there. Kind of reminds me of jelly beans or peeps. Okay, so that colorway is called Sun Showers. She has a Etsy shop, and her website is longnightdyeworks.com, and I believe that's how she's called on Etsy. I will link it below. You can find her on Instagram as Carrie Lee Haas, and or as Long Night Dyeworks, or Long Night Moon, excuse me, Long Night Moon. So yeah. Anyway, I'll link all that stuff down below, so I'm excited to see how that works up. Then Jasmine at Tesla Knits. I don't really know why I was perusing her website, but what you know, you do. And I need another project bag, like I need to be kicked in the tail end. But Otters in Space, how can you pass that up? And again, this donates to the Right to Dream 2 organization, which is a safe sleeping area for homeless people in Portland, Oregon. And it gives them a place to get their mail and to clean up and have a safe place to sleep at night and a good meal. So this is Space Otters by Tesla Knits. And she has donated prizes before, so she's really, really been a big supporter of the podcast. Then I picked up this little bag. The Clever Clove was having a clearance sale, so I thought this was really super cute. It's a little canvas bag that just says just one more row. Cute little nice size project bag there. And she had some really cute pins on clearance. So of course, you know, I'm a sucker for the pins, right? So cat in a bowl of yarn balls. Let's see if you can get that to focus. Okay, cat in a bowl of yarn balls. And then a llama with a basket of yarn on his back. And then, oh, let me find it. A little otter dressed for a rainy day. I thought those were adorable. So I picked up those pins from her clearance section. So I was really pleased about that. You know, I'm almost out of room on my pin holder, so I'm going to have to make me another one. And then I treated myself one day. I was feeling kind of down, and I just happened to get the email from Countess Ablaze. And Countess Ablaze was selling a colorway of yarn from her Dystopian series. And it's called, well, it has to do with Brexit. I won't say it on here because I try to keep this family friendly, but if you follow her at all, it is a black with colored splashes throughout it. So if you kind of thumb through it, you'll see that there are these brightly colored bursts of neon pops in it. So that is on her Grande Merino DK, which is 225 meters and 115 grams. And it feels really good. So I'm very excited. That's my first Countess Ablaze yarn. And it was really not terrible. The shipping on it was not really any more than having it shipped from anywhere in the States. So anyway, I have one more thing that I will quickly show. I know it's kind of a lot this week. I apologize. I'm not normally so such a spendthrift, but I got a stamped cross stitch kit from Joann's because they had a sale, and they didn't send the floss with it, but it is a stamped cross stitch kit, and it's a lap quilt with butterflies on it. And my mother loved butterflies, so I kind of bought this in her honor. I thought it was really pretty. So we'll see when I get around to getting that done. But anyway, so those are my acquisitions for this week. So we're going to move on now and talk a little bit about science. Well, as I said, here in the academic part of my world, we are winding down very quickly. I gave my last final this morning. Graduation is on Saturday. Then I have a week before intersession starts. I am teaching online classes in our intersession summer session and in our summer 1 session. So that will be starting. I've got a few adjustments I need to make, and I need to work on the closed captioning on my videos. But got that coming up, but I will be working from home doing that. Now we are doing some planetarium shows because field trip groups are out and about now that the schools are done with their assessment testing and so on. So I will be going down into my office for about the next 3 weeks to do planetarium programs. Other than that, I think the last time we had spoken, we had gotten through a science fair. But I was getting ready to see my students at the Undergraduate Research Symposium, and they all did really, really great. I was very pleased. We had Super Science Saturday, and then this past Friday was Girls of Power in STEM, which is UCA's endeavor to invite 8th grade young women to campus, and they are specifically nominated to come by their science teachers for being interested in science. And all of our presenters, we had 30-something presenters, and they were all women. So they get to interact with everything from trauma surgeons to geologists to veterinarians to people who work for the wildlife service to people who do cybersecurity and forensic science. And then I did planetarium programs for them. I didn't get to see all of them, but I got to see about a quarter of them, I think. So that was a great day, had a great time. A couple of my friends from the outside world came and did presentations, which was really cool. Also, too, today I had my students, or Monday and today both, was really neat because what I did for the finals in my majors meteorology class, I had them sort of do, they had to do their weather journals. They were assigned a city where they had to track the weather over the course of the semester and make some conclusions about the kind of climate, or were they in their rainy season or whatnot. And then we had the lady from Community Connections come, and we talked about Super Science Saturday. And it was so neat to hear what they had to say. There were some kids there. Well, they're not kids, they're adults. These young adults talking about the importance of public service and community service. There were some of them who went way above and beyond and worked so hard. There are some of those students that have participated in 4 and 5 of these Super Science Saturdays, and they were so excited to share their experiences, and reading their reflective essays about what they had learned from the experience was really powerful. But the thing that probably affected me the most was there was a young man there, and he had been really concerned about the idea of doing this. He was not at all sure. He had relatives that were on the spectrum, and he was not at all sure about how this was going to go, and he was very nervous. And he was, a little concerned and reluctant when we first started talking about it. But the more we talked about it, the better he felt. So I asked him specifically, what was his insights? And did he feel like that he was okay with doing it? And before I even got the question out, Jessica said, oh yes, he's already signed up to volunteer for several of our other events. He wants to be involved with us on a regular basis. And he wrote this wonderful thing about, he works in healthcare and he takes care of people, but he said, that's my job. He said, doing something selflessly where there's no compensation, he said, that gives you a feeling that you can't even really put into words. And that is such a valuable, important thing that you have shared with us about the value of doing that. And I'm getting tearful thinking about it right now. So that's what I wanted to do. That's if nothing else comes out of that class, I hope that I've instilled in them the value of helping others. Then I had a bonfire on this past Friday night, invited several students out. They got to come out and see the farm, and it was great to just visit with them. And then today I gave my final in my what's like people are going to be pre-med students or physical therapy or whatever, and many of them are seniors and they're going to be graduating. And I had told them the last day of class, I said, I want you to write an essay about what is a takeaway from this class. And I read the essays. There were 60 of them, and I read them all today in my office. And I have really taught that class in a non-traditional way. All my tests were take home. They were all open book, because I wanted them to learn how these things mattered to them. I wanted them to see how physics plays a role in their future careers or in their life, and how it's really all around us. I am not interested in how good a test taker they are. I want them to make that connection, make those connections between the value of physics knowledge and day-to-day life. And it was a risk doing that, because, you know, traditional Socratic method is about testing and evaluation and lecture and all this stuff. And that is the freedom that comes, I'll be honest with you, of being a tenured full professor, is you can do those kinds of things and say, I want to see if there's value in this. And what I found out from reading those essays is there absolutely was value in this. Does that mean my students are probably going to have a higher grade in that class than they would have I done it traditionally? Yes. But does that also mean that they took something away from that class, instead of it just being a box that they had to check off on a sheet, that they saw how physics directly impacts their future career, or how it's around you everywhere? So reading those essays confirmed that it was okay that I did that. It was the validation that I needed from the students. The other thing, of course, that touched me was the ones that said, you know, I appreciated the fact that you learned our names and that you interacted with us and talked to us like you're equal, and you treated everyone with respect, and you showed that even people that were different than you were worthy of, deserved respect and needed to be treated respectfully. And, you know, some of them really touched me, because I had one student who was a transgendered person, and she had recently transitioned and changed her name, and her dead name was what was on the roll sheet. And so first thing I do in my class is I tell my students, write what you prefer to be called on the roll sheet, so I know. And also, what she wrote in her essay was, you showed me that there is value in doing things in a different way, that you can still achieve the same goal in a way that maybe is not the traditional route, that there's more than one way to do something and be successful, that you don't have to follow what society says is the rules. And that, to me, y'all, that's my gold star on my test, is to have students give me that kind of feedback. Those that, you know, between Monday and today, that's my sticker on my test. You know, that's my gold star. Because at the end of the day, my students are not going to remember necessarily what Coulomb's law is, or how to calculate the current flow through a resistor in a complex circuit. But they are going to remember that I loved my subject, that I shared with them these really cool tie-ins to day-to-day life, and that I cared about them as human beings, and I cared about making the world a better place. And if I can keep that up, then I'm doing my job as a professor. Even if I get some backlash for giving all take-home tests, I'll handle that. I don't care, because I am training, and well, not even training. That's not even, I don't even like that word. I am mentoring future scientists, or I'm mentoring really scientists. These people are all already scientists. I am mentoring them in how to go to make a positive change in the world. And if I can do that, then I have done my job as a scientist and as a professor. So, what I wanted to talk a little bit about was, since I had made Wanda the whale shark, I thought I would talk to you a little bit about whale sharks. I fell in love with whale sharks when I saw them in the Georgia Aquarium a few years ago, and I think I even included some footage. I'll include some more that I took at the Georgia Aquarium. But I was reading about whale sharks, and here's some neat things. Whale sharks are the largest known extant fish species. They are the largest non-cetacean animal on the planet. They are slow-moving filter feeders. They're sometimes called carpet sharks because the designs on their backs make them look like carpets. They reminded people of carpets. They are a member of the order Erectolobiforms, and they are the sole member of the genus Rhinoerdin. Yeah, I'm not a biologist. They're the only member of that genus. They have small mouths. They're wide, but they're not deep. They don't extend past their eyes. They have 2 dorsal fins. They have 5 gill slits, and they only are in warm waters. They are only in tropical waters that are around 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 21 degrees Celsius or warmer. But they exist in all tropical and warm temperate oceans and seas. They feed on plankton and small fish and pose absolutely no threat to human beings. They believe that there's not that much known about whale sharks. They're still kind of a mystery to us. But they are believed to live at least an average of 70 years and perhaps up to 130 years. And the largest example ever recorded thus far is 62 feet long. On average, they're 32 feet long and weigh around 20,000 pounds. So I thought that was really cool. And they have attracted people's attention because they do congregate at times, and the largest known congregation was off the Yucatan coast in 2011, where 400 whale sharks gathered. Unfortunately, now that area has kind of become blighted a little bit by ecotourism, and I'm not an opponent of ecotourism, but when you have people go and they leave their trash and they don't walk lightly on the earth, that's really not ecotourism, that's just tourism. They need to take better care of the planet. They are very docile and they're considered endangered. So I thought that was kind of cool to learn a little bit about whale sharks. I'll put in some video footage from the Georgia Aquarium after this clip. So now we're going to move on and talk about farm life. Okay, let's see. On the farm, well, first thing, we had some pretty bad storms last night. Somehow it missed me, but just to the northeast of me, my friend Kathy, who takes care of my place, she had some pretty significant damage. She had a tree down on her house, and they think maybe it was a small tornado. Apparently there was some damage over where my friend Sasha lives, not at her place, but in the town she lives in. And Miss Betsy just messaged me pictures of her flowers, and then she said, these were from yesterday before the storm hit. I've been picking up limbs all day. So apparently the storm, the worst of it missed me. All I had was hard rain, which I was very grateful for. But I could tell yesterday when I was outside, it felt unsettled. It felt like it was going to storm. You know, when you live out in the country and you've been through enough bad weather, you get good at saying something doesn't feel right. But anyway, so here on the farm, you know, it's greening up. Things are starting to bloom. My irises are blooming. The dogwoods have been blooming. I've got my garden in. I put all my vegetables in and planted all my seeds. The only thing I've got left is I'm trying to get some tomatillos. And I did order some Turk's Turban gourd seeds, which just came from Southern Exposure Seed Company. So I'm probably going to plant those where they'll kind of grow up the chicken pen. The chicks and the turkeys and the ducklings are all doing great. The ducklings are out now in their big pen, and I'm going to start working on the pens now that I'm off work for the chicks to move out. Penny is doing great. She is, you know, just a sweet thing. She's been really easy to get along with, very friendly and gentle, and she got to meet everybody at the bonfire, so that was a lot of fun for her. The rabbits are all doing really well, seems like, and I'm up to 6 baby calves, although when I went to check them the other day, there was a cow that I couldn't spot, so I need to go over there tonight and see if I can spot her and her calf. She was the one that was down trying to have a calf, and when I went back, she was up and seemed fine, and I saw her a few days later, and she seemed fine, but I just didn't notice her when I went over there the other day to check on them, so I need to go hunt her up. Yeah, so, you know, here in April, it's kind of the greening time. You know, we've got through the greening time of the year. The leaves are all out on the trees. Of course, the backyard needs to be mowed. I always end up letting it get away from me when I shouldn't. But I've been trying to make good use of my native plants in the yard. I'm tincturing some cleavers right now. I've got a bunch of herbs, ribwort and dead nettle and some dandelions and some red clovers that I have dried that I'm going to infuse in some oil and make some balms and some soaps and things with. Starting to get in gear for canning season. You know, starting to gather my jars up. I've got jars at work that I need to bring that somebody gave me. You know, I haven't been able to ride hardly at all this month because every Thursday and Friday I've had commitments at work. But I have gone over and seen my horses and loved on them and paid attention to them. But soon our summer riding program will start, and that'll mean riding every day, which will be wonderful, and I can't wait. Yeah, the donkeys and everybody seem to be doing good. I do need to trim some hooves. Got, you know, some that have grown out because of the rich grass, and so I need to trim a few hooves. Trixie's doing great. She thinks she's the bull of the woods out there, of course. But, you know, it's been a good couple of weeks. Haven't gotten a lot of projects done simply because of my commitments at work, but I did get the garden in, and that was the main thing. I'm going to try to do better this year. I was talking to Magpie Knits, Heidi, about being better about my garden. So that's one of my goals this year, is to have a more productive garden. Got lots of flowers coming up. This is the earliest I've gotten things planted in several years, so I'm hopeful that that will mean a more successful garden. Yeah, so I've been, you know, trying to think about things that I want to get worked on this summer. I have some big ticket projects that actually I have all the supplies for, except I need to get some exterior decking screws. But I've got the stuff. I want to refurbish my little storage building. I need to finish burning down the old house. Some of the stuff didn't get burned up initially. I need to do some fence work. I need to work on some chicken pens. The chicken pens are probably the #1 priority. Then the little storage building will come next. You know, as the summer comes on, it gets too hot to work on things midday, but I try to work on things in the late afternoon and evening. It's not too terribly bad. So, but yeah, try to think if anything else of note has happened out here. Mostly we've just been keeping on, you know, with everything that's been going on. You know, just kind of making sure that we keep everybody alive, well fed and watered while we're waiting on summertime to get here, when I've got more time to work on projects. So I think that that's where I'm going to end with farm life. And so now we'll come back and share a few final thoughts. Oh no, I forgot two very important things I wanted to talk about. The first one was an article that Miss Mary sent me, and it was an article about California farmers who are planting weeds to try to help with the carbon in the atmosphere. And I read the article, and it's basically about planting cover crops in cropland that would normally be kept more pristine, particularly the almond groves, the almond orchards. They're planting cover crops in amongst their trees instead of keeping it pristine and mowed. This has a couple of advantages. The farmer that they interviewed, which was Jose Robles, said, you know, a few years ago it was impossible to keep our trees watered because the open ground would just dry out so quickly. But if you plant a cover crop, it helps with the moisture. It also feeds the soil because you till the cover crop in and let it decay down, and it's a fertilizer. It keeps the weeds down, and it traps a lot of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. So farmers are figuring out that planting cover crops is helpful in so many ways, and I thought that that was really cool, you know, to come to that. And even farmers who are not necessarily on the climate change boat have figured out that it is a useful tool, because water is a major resource that we need to conserve. You know, I was watching one of the SciShow movies about, or SciShow episodes about, you know, what are some possible, you know, apocalyptic sci-fi endings that we actually should worry about. And the one that they said was the most concerning was called the cloudless desert model, where due to climate change we lose our cloud layer, our stratocumulus cloud layer, which would mean the surface temperature of the Earth's average temperature would rise by 53 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's wrap our minds around that for a minute. Okay, water, there would not be that much fresh water then. Fresh water is actually a fairly rare resource. Got a lot of salt water in the oceans, but fresh water is fairly rare. And, you know, an example is the Colorado River has not flowed all the way to the ocean since the 1930s because of all the irrigation and sprinklers on people's lawns in Las Vegas and things like that. And I actually heard a talk one time, and I can't remember if it was a TED Talk, but that the next big wars and fights are going to be over water. Not over oil, but over water. So there are things we can do to help with this. We can be more mindful of our water use. We can be more saving of our water use, and actually take a hard look at the bottled water industry. Okay, take a hard look at how that, whether that's a useful industry or not. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, I know people complain about the taste of their water. Get yourself a Brita pitcher. Okay, I'm sorry, but bottled water, you need to think about the use. Think about that. Okay. The other thing was, I read an article about a farmer or a psychologist who works with farmers, and he is noticing a severe uptick in the number of suicidal farmers because of the there's different, but a lot of the flooding. He said he's noticed a strong uptick since these severe floods in the Midwest. He said, I think the behavioral health of farm people can be viewed as a canary of their economic well-being because it's affected by agricultural prices that the farmers can't control. Besides weather, the entities that control farm prices largely have to do with business interests that lobby heavily at the state and federal levels. If the behavioral health of farmers is poor, you can bet those lobbies are winning. Farmers are becoming dismayed about tariffs. You know, a lot of the policies that are being put in place are actually flying in the face of what's a long-term solution for the farmers. You know, the farmers are kind of predisposed, he says, to a lot of depression. He said, we have a propensity for depression among farm people. We think it is partly for genetic reasons. It stems back to a specific gene on the human genome that predisposes people to overreact to a threat. That gene becomes activated when there is a threat to operating the land or any threat to losing assets involved in farming. Other things can cause it too, like the loss of a family member. So, you know, farmers face pretty long odds at times, and the weather the last few years has been fairly brutal on farmers. You would think lots of rain would be good, but not if it floods, or not if it prevents you from being able to harvest your crops to make a living. So this was in the New Republic, and I'll share that article also. So, you know, I don't know what just a normal everyday person can do about this, other than just, if you know someone who is in a farming lifestyle or role, check on them, call them, be kind to them, don't complain about food prices to them, you know, because I will tell you that the cost that you pay at the grocery store, very little of that money is going into the pocket of the farmer who produced that food. If you want to help farmers, try to eat more locally, buy from local suppliers. Okay, off my soapbox now. Now we're going to move on to final thoughts. Okay, so today in Final Thoughts, I actually got my inspiration from Maria from Ninja Chickens. She released a pattern collection today, and she had published a poem by a writer that I had not been familiar with, Nikita Gill. And I began to look at some of her poetry, and I wanted to share a couple of them with you. And one of them has to go along with what I just talked about with farmers, and this is called Fairy Godmother. Sometimes we wish for fairy godmothers, the ones we don't have to be Cinderella for, the ones who hear us in the darkness, the quiet cries in the silence locked behind our hearts' hidden doors. The school teacher who saw that something wasn't quite right with the quiet girl in class, who cared enough to talk to her and find out if her home was safe or made of shards of broken glass. The social worker who never stops working and always put extra hours into the job, because his whole heart is crushed every time he hears a soft and damaged little sob. The carer who works hours overtime to look after those in need, and the volunteer who takes genuine care of all the elderly. Do not undervalue the difference a truly kind heart can make. Maybe the fairy godmother we are wishing for isn't a magical being that grants wishes at all, but just a person that sees our trauma and reaches out to help us and to break our fall. I like that. So I thought that kind of goes in with let's take care of each other. And another one that I thought was really useful, and I don't mean to read two, but I just couldn't choose between these two, is a little bit about self-care. It's called Lessons from the Cosmos. The idea that there is enough DNA in each of our bodies that if it were laid out end to end, it would stretch between the sun and Pluto 7 times. And we still treat ourselves like we are so very small. The idea that the universe loved us enough that it painted a perfect picture of itself in each of our cells to remind us that it is there always. And yet we belittle ourselves and think that no one loves us. The idea that we believe that we are not walking miracles, even though each footstep confirms it. Each heartbeat is a chorus from the stars that made us. Your existence is valued. Your existence is needed. So on that wonderful thought about we are all stardust, I'm going to leave y'all, and I will see y'all again soon. But until I see y'all again soon, what, Willie? Y'all be good to each other. And take care of each other. And what, Willie? Peace out, y'all. Bye.